And we have a neuropsychologist today. Yesterday we had a psychologist, but neuropsychologist, it sounds better. Diana Velikonja. She will join us and she will answer your questions, as will Sean Cullen. Isolation Nation inspiration yesterday, it was loneliness is not about the number of people around us. It's about the number of people who understand us. And you know what? I got another one, but you're going to have to wait to the end of the show for this. By the way, what the hell is this, Case? White Swan?
There you go.
White Swan. I don't want the neighbors
That's
to
what we
know.
give you.
This stuff is terrible. Now, the cashmere stuff, that stuff is gold. So on today's show, as I said, Sean Cullen will join us. This is SickNotWeak. This is Isolation Nation. And we are here because we want you, even though you might be isolated, we want you not to feel alone. And we are here for those that had pre-existing problems with mental health. That's why we've had this charity for 4 years. But we're also here for those of you who, for the first time, are kind of feeling anxious, sad, stressed because of COVID-19. And one thing to relieve the anxiety and the stress and all of that is to get you to smile, which is what Sean Cullen does almost every day on Twitter.
Here with the COVID-19 Online Comedy Fest. You know, my mom, we've talked a lot about her. She's 89, but she still is working hard to help people during these difficult times. And she knows, she finally gotten it through her head that she can't go outside and contact people. She loves to wrestle. She loves to roll in the mud with people, and that just can't happen right now. So what she's taken to doing is she goes out on her front steps and she twerks. She twerks really hard. She's an incredible twerker. She's had both hips replaced, and they're just machine-like.
That is, oh my God, that is so funny. Sean Cullen, friend for years and years. You know, I was once in the audience and my cell phone went off, and it was at, I think, a Gemini Awards, and you were hosting, and I blamed it on my buddy Bob Makowitz, who was sitting beside me, and you just destroyed him. How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm glad Bob was falsely accused.
Yeah, you know what? I've waited all these years to finally come clean. I feel better about it. Thank you, Father, for accepting my I don't know what you call that. Those little rooms?
Confessional.
Thank you. How you doing, Sean? How are you coping with this?
Well, I'm fine. You know, as far as this, apropos of this situation, I've been diagnosed with depression about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and on medication. And so you tend to go up and down, but I've been finding that doing this online comedy thing, I do about 4 installations a day. It's keeping me having a routine and something to latch onto and to know that I'm not all by myself. So that's been very good, but I just try not to dwell too much on the sad parts of what's going on right now, although it is very sad, but you've got to be positive and face it with a positivity, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so before we bring the good doctor in, do you find yourself, you had a pre-existing condition, you were diagnosed 15 years ago with depression. Do you find that you've slipped, that since, you know, COVID-19, the isolation, the social, you know, removing yourself basically from all of life, have your symptoms got magnified?
Well, I have to say, like, I was going through a bad time, like, say, last year, and I was having a lot of worry about the future and what's going to happen to me, and am I going to be living in a bag on the side of the road, and what's, you know, I'd gone through a divorce, and I'd gone through all these things, and I was having financial situations, and strangely, when this happened, I was on my way to do the Kingston Canadian Film Festival, and I was supposed to do a show supporting a film I'm in. And I got there, did the sound check. I drove all the way there, did the sound check, and they said, "Thank you, canceling the whole thing." And so I got in my car and I drove back. And I don't mean to say that it was kind of liberating, but in a way, it made me feel like it's, the world is enormous and you can't control it. And when something like this happens, it kind of gives you that it reassures you in a way
Right.
that you're not at fault for anything that's going wrong, and you're not. It's beyond you a lot of the time, and you've just got to find ways to make yourself happy and content yourself within this kind of maelstrom of impossibility.
Well, sometimes you have to turn to a professional. And speaking of a professional, Diana Velikonja is a neuropsychologist. Because yesterday we had a psychologist. She was great, Cathy. She was terrific. But I said, damn it, not just a psychologist. We need a neuropsychologist who actually is also a psychologist and who is the president of the Ontario Psychological Association. I said, go out and find me that person. And look, here you are. How are you, Diana?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I was telling you just before we went on the air that this has actually been, I don't want to say it, but it's been a really challenging time for me from a negative standpoint, but also from a positive standpoint to get this show on the air. So I'm doing okay. You heard Sean's story. What did you think?
I think Sean highlights really the important aspects of trying to move through a very difficult situation, which is to find the opportunities, looking at what is positive, how to move on. So I think it's quite compelling, and it's a very brave story, Sean. That's
Yeah,
great.
It is. That, the whole purpose of what we do is to hear somebody else. And so I'm listening to Sean, for instance, and I'm an advocate for mental health sharing, but I'm also a patient. So I hear him say, 15 years ago, I was struggling. And then he says, I was going out to be on stage in Kingston. And I know for me, the biggest fear I have is to be on stage and be struggling with my depression, loss of self-esteem, the inability to think. However quick my brain works, the time gets cut in half. Do you experience what I'm talking about? And do you fear those days when you have to be on stage, when you have to be on, when you don't feel well?
Well, in some ways, the being on stage and performing is kind of like the best place I ever am. And I love it. And the thing is, but there are days when you're just like, I don't feel funny, And the one thing about comedy I've always believed is if you don't think you're funny, no one's going to think you're funny. It's hard to fake. But after, 30 years of doing it, you can put on a show and hit all the points and perform the actions and sell it. But it's really hard if you're not happy. Like when I first I found out about depression, I was in the producers and I was going on stage and just like absolutely devastated and unhappy and doing the show and hiding in that persona for the time period that I was on the show and then collapsing afterwards. It was a very strange time. I don't think I'm in that situation now, but comedy is kind of like putting a persona or a shell or projecting a different personality during your performance,
Diana, I'm sure you experience all the time people who talk about the mask, right? I mean, there's a mask that all of us that have experienced this illness for a while get really good at wearing. And one of the things that I try to warn people about is that you may think that the person that sleeps beside you in bed is doing okay, but if they don't want you to know they're not okay, you're not going to know it.
Well, but sometimes quite often, even with the mask, I think a lot of times people know something's up. And I think that's why a lot of times, and I don't know if this has been part of your experience, which is, just coming with that with your partner, just being able to have that discussion and talk about that. And yeah, sometimes you have to put a mask, but sometimes that mask is just a way to get through things, right? It's a way of dealing with things, but also we have to be able to, we're not fooling people all the time, right?
No.
And so at some point we've got to just be saying, yes, I am putting on this mask, but it's helping me to cope. It's helping me to get through the situation. This is how I'm dealing, this is what's getting me through it. But yeah, I am in pain right now. And just telling people what you need, right?
So I just want
you can't pretend the mask is real, I think.
No, but those of us that, especially if you're in some kind of performing area, you're good at showing the audience not what you're feeling. You show the audience what you think they want to see you. That can be a skill. that bleeds over into the rest of your life. So you can sometimes live a life that you don't feel like living, but you think is important. Let me just tell folks, this is Isolation Nation. We called it that because it rhymed, and I think rhymes are awesome. And if you want to make a donation to our foundation, don't bother. But here's what we want you to do. We want you to spread the word, because this show will make a difference in people's lives, and they need to know about it. It's not like we're launching TSA and, you know, there's running in basketball. So share this experience. If you think it sucks, and if you think it sucks, don't share it and come back. We don't need you here. Sean, got a question for the talk?
Well, I've always been wondering, what is the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
So
No, it's a very simple question and very dumb, but I would love to know.
psychiatrists go through medical school in terms of their training, and then they do a lot of their specialization with regard to psychiatry and medication in their residency. So they prescribe medications and so on. Psychologists go to graduate school, so the focus being on more the neurological aspects, personality, human behavior, and so on, focus on therapy, treatment, and so on, and more the behavioral end. So we don't prescribe. So we treat the same patients. We can both diagnose, we treat similar patients, but we don't, psychologists, neuropsychologists don't prescribe medication.
Yeah.
So
I could also tell you, Sean, I could tell you other differences between the two. Number one, you're going to wait 1.5 years to get into see a psychiatrist,
Yes.
which is a huge thing. And, you know, people that are in dire need have greater access to a psychologist like Diana, or a neuropsychologist, excuse me, than they would a psychiatrist. And you tend to get time. Like when you see a patient, Diana, how long is it for?
So it depends on the issue. So sometimes, sometimes it takes just a few sessions of treatment, depending on what the situation is. Other times it can be much longer. So, for us, a big focus is spending that time understanding, the issues and being able to work through the behavioral and the cognitive strategies. So really trying to get at a very fundamental behavioral change.
Cullen, hold on one sec. I got some questions from viewers. This is from Beard for Mental Health. Beard or Beer for Mental Health. Do not self-medicate. Why am I less depressed? Why am I more anxious, less depressed during COVID-19?
Well, because probably a lot of the uncertainty. So uncertainty tends more so to breed anxiety because we want answers. And right now there are not a lot of answers to the questions that we want. So that, of course, then we start to think of the uncertainty. That starts to get us very anxious. We get very nervous, and that's why it starts to culminate more in that than depression.
What are some ways to recognize the tipping point for my anxiety into depression? And that is something that I know for me, what triggers my depression? It's out of control anxiety. It's like I max out on the anxiety and then I start to get depressed. And eventually I max out on both, and that's a bad time.
That's a really good point, because that tends to happen to a lot of people. You tend to vacillate. So a lot of people think that you just are depressed, you don't get anxious, but really we quite often move through that continuum from very anxious symptoms. We swing over to depression, and you're right. When those two max out, or you really heighten in both those symptoms, that crash is the very difficult part, right? That crash becomes when, people become much more unstable in their behavior. The tipping point is really from anxiety to depression. But as you know, anxiety tends to be much more energizing. We're up, we're doing a lot, our head's going, we're ruminating on things, we're all over the place. It's hard to stay focused. And then quite often the depression becomes less not doing. It's the profound sadness. It's not being motivated. That's a heaviness.
That is the description that most of us with depression experience. Sean, the lack of motivation, the lack of purpose, it's kind of like loneliness, purposelessness, I'm trying to hopelessness. It's like all of the Nesses come out. It's like we found the Loch Ness monster, and it's all of the symptoms that we're experiencing.
Worthless, hopeless, helpless.
Well, I find that, it manifests for me is just like, why am I awake? I'm just going to go to bed again. I'm going to go to sleep and kind of have the will to work or even, have a shower or anything like that. I go, well, I might sleep for an hour, see how I feel after that. It manifests its really extreme exhaustion for me too.
That's all stuff that all of us are doing this, oh yeah. I kind of look at the shower as a marker for something that is a challenge for people with severe depression. And we have these sayings. I try to say things that are really portable. And one of them is proud of the shower, because you need to take pride in the things that you do that other people would laugh at. No one would say, oh, who didn't have a mental health challenge? Oh man, I took a shower today. I'm so proud of myself. But when you haven't taken a shower in a number of days and eventually you are able to push yourself, you got to take some pride in that. Doc, do you see what I'm saying when it comes to taking pride in tiny accomplishments that for you are big?
And the difficult part, I think, that you probably experience is that trying to accept that as a good marker or goal and to be proud of that, because you're kind of sitting there thinking, this is what it's come down to. I'm proud of taking a shower. But understanding that actually is, when you come into this context, a very important marker, and not judging yourself for the fact that, okay, this doesn't seem like a huge deal. This is a lot of times what we face with people. They'll say, well, what, that just seems like a meaningless thing that I've accomplished. I'm glad that you've highlighted that, because you need to be able to break down what you do accomplish through those time periods and be able to say, yeah, that was great. And this is a different time period for me. I can't have the same expectations as when I'm not depressed. So I've got to be able to look at the markers, be able to get some pride out of that.
Yeah, it's such a massive challenge. It's like you got to be able to say, instead of all I did today was take a shower, you need to be able to say, oh my God, today I took a shower. You know what we're saying, Sean. I mean, you were the one that brought up the topic. I got a question here for you, Sean, and it goes like this. Did people know when you were on stage in the producers that you were struggling? Did anyone ask you, how you doing? Are you okay?
No, because it was more me that was the problem. I was not saying to anybody, I need some help. I am in dire need I was feeling completely hopeless. If I had told them about it, but I kept this kind of hidden to myself, because I always had this sense of like a great deal of shame that I was failing somehow, and everybody else could handle things and I could not, and that was a source of shame for me. So I kept it to myself. Finally, my doctor sent me to a psychiatrist who I went to for about 12 years, who I loved, but he retired. So I have nobody to go to. But he was wonderful, just to say, this is not a failing that you have. This isn't you failing. This is a condition that you're suffering from.
Go ahead, say the words, sick, not weak. I know you want to use it. I know you want to try to say it.
I'm sick, not weak. It's true. And anyway.
Here's a question for the doc. Diana, do you think loneliness is an epidemic at this time, or pandemic, I guess? This feeling of loneliness. I mean, isolation suggests loneliness, but you can be isolated from other people. And if you're there because it's your choice, you could feel really good about it. So is that a problem right now?
People are really struggling, yes, with the concept of, is this like isolation versus loneliness. In their isolation, a lot of people are trying to figure out how to connect. Some of the people that I'm speaking to are talking about the fear of, okay, even if I'm not in a depressed episode right now, this is feeling a lot like depression because I am isolated right now. So there's a lot of, so what we're working on is trying to say, okay, this isn't the same, that it doesn't become the trigger to a bad episode. And I love the way you put isolation and loneliness are not the same thing, because, you know, look at what you're doing, like what Sean's doing, even by virtue of the fact that we're isolated, we're reaching out, we're connecting, we're finding a way to connect with people. And of course, then you're not lonely, which is a different concept. Lonely is when you can't reach out and you get no satisfaction out of reaching out to others. So right now, this is for some people, you know, and I don't know if this mirrors your experiences as well, but with this isolation, and maybe that's part of, you know, moving to these activities, is that it can feel very similar to those aspects of depression.
Yeah, I mean, that is hugely useful. One of the things we're trying to do is, you know, you have a guy like Sean on the show that will bring a sense of lightness. By the way, we'll ask him some questions that will force him to be what he is naturally, and that is very funny. And we try to bring a doctor on. When I say we try, I mean it's only the second day we've done this, but you know, who can give people real advice. Hold on one sec, Sean. I know you're going, well, why isn't he asking me a question? What about me? Now I feel all lonely. He's multiplying my mental illness. Sorry, buddy. Diana, make some suggestions, just little small ones that you think people who are experiencing anxiety and maybe depression and maybe some OCD, because, you know, the whole hand washing thing can become obsessive and compulsive. For people who are going through this for the first time, who never really thought about their mental health because they never had to.
Is really to watch for the, like, create routines. Get up, do things. So this is get up, try to, you know, eat regular, try to create basic goals, get out of the house and walk away from people, not to people, but get out, get some air, get some change, but also create some goals and routines within the house so that days feel purposeful in some way. And again, don't scale it like in the same way that you would if you weren't having to be more isolated. Scale to just some basic goals every day, things you want to achieve, things that you want to be able to accomplish, because we all feel better if we have some sense of accomplishment, even if that's taking a shower, you know, getting dressed, getting in normal clothes. And then also realize that that's the solution just completely in and of itself, because what happens is we adapt to these things very quickly as human beings. So change up the routine. Don't leave it stale. Every few days, do something different, you know. You know, decide you're going to wear different types of clothes, different types of food. Just change it up, but keep those routines going, but keep them changing. Because sometimes they won't just cut it after a while, right?
Whoa. Wait a second here. Wear regular pants? Are you judging me on the fact that I have gone 15 days now without wearing pants with a button? I feel so proud of that. Why are you saying that, Diana?
I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that's an example. So wearing something like, you know, sometimes some people feel a little bit better if they dressed today, if they got dressed in button pants as opposed to their track pants. So what I'm saying is, if it gets to some point, Michael, where things are feeling stale and I need to change it up, maybe putting on a button pants one day might feel okay. Might break the cycle, might break some of the, you know, the monotony.
Well, if you see me in pants with a button on them, you're going to go, oh my gosh, he's not doing well. He's turned to the pants with a button. I bet you Sean understands what I'm saying, though. I bet you understand what you know, like, it's like, okay, I got to be home. I'm going to be as comfortable as I can be.
Sure. Well, you just moo full, you know, slip body, float around the house. I like to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Or just wrap myself in scarves, whatever it takes.
Scarves?
Scarves. Yes.
See,
change it up.
Example, he has a scarf day. He just, you know, wraps himself up in scarves all day. He'll have a moo week. He'll have maybe a button pants week. Maybe he'll do a full nude week. I don't know.
Full nude week on Discovery.
Change it up. Give yourself, you know, something different, something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And your neighbors.
Well, for me, I've been doing something I've always done is write. And I find that a lot of people now are saying write a journal. And that's something you can do every day. And as a writer, I write novels for young adults, like 9 to 12-year-olds. And that for me, that started when I was first diagnosed. And it really gave me structure. Writing gives you structure. I'd have to write every day and get so much done. And that really helped. Looking forward to that. But I think people can write a journal. It doesn't have to be, pages of observations. It could just be a few sentences or a sentence or anything like that. So just something that you do every day, and then you can look back on it and see how you're feeling about it.
And it's a great point, Sean. One of the things that some people also do is they'll do art. So people will draw, will do art pieces. Some people put together montages of music. So yeah, anything that you connect with. Journaling could be one of those things. Writing, for some people, it's music, it's doing their art. But those are the kinds of things you can really sort of set goals with, and become part of something you achieve and accomplish. So whatever has meaning to you is important to try to get to, right?
So I've told you before, I can take anything that you say with a really smart, full explanation and sum it up in one hashtag. It's a talent. What can I say? And I kind of call this, what you just described, the purpose to pain. It's like, okay, inside, nobody wants to be isolated in this position. There's all kinds of things to worry about, pre-existing conditions. Sean and I mean, there's a lot of pain, but if you put it to purpose, which Sean does every day, you said like 4 times a day you're posting, that to me is a purpose to your pain.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, absolutely. Just having these landmarks in your day to hang everything on and to look forward to is very helpful.
One final question for you, Diana. This is from Rob. Do you believe there will be a tidal wave of COVID-19 related PTSD for doctors, nurses, first responders?
Yeah, that is something that we're certainly seeing the beginning of right now, where a lot of the first responders and frontline workers that we've already been seeing, we're seeing spikes in their sort of traumatic anxiety. And certainly what we're seeing out of our colleagues from the States and so on, a lot, because what they're dealing with is like New York City and so on. So we're seeing the onslaught of that starting. So yeah, we do feel that that's coming. The announcement from the Ontario government today to provide more access to virtual mental health, I think, was very positive, and particularly targeting first responders and people on the front lines is going to be really important.
This was great. I'm juggling a whole bunch of things because I had no idea that doing something like this, doing a show on social media, had so many different dimensions to it. I think I sort of came into this just like a guy who's on camera thinking, well, that should be easy. And then we found out there's a million things that have to go right for it to happen. I think it's going really well right now. Certainly the guests are great. That's kind of the easy part at this point. Diana, thank you so much for chatting with us. Thank you so much for giving people some advice. And I told you, as soon as I saw you and heard your voice, I thought she's going to be great. And you were. So thanks for doing this, Diana.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure to meet both of you.
Thank you.
We'll talk again soon. You're good to do that?
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
How about tomorrow? Just kidding. We have a long list of people that are dying to be on. So you passed the audition and here you are. We'll talk to you soon. And again, thank you for the comfort that you brought to a lot of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. All right, Sean, let's can we roll the Sean clip? We went to Twitter. Your stuff, as I said, was really hysterical. So I'm going to ask Phil. Phil, can we roll the clip from Sean? And as soon as you say yes, we can, I will shut up. I will stop talking. But I haven't heard you say yes, we can yet. So, we can. So here's Sean Cullen posting 4 times a day, gold like this.
Through it, I'm going to kill you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take your eyes out. I'm going to stick them in my pockets. I'm going to let you count my change.
19 Online Comedy Fest. I've been rewatching movies. Just rewatched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I love that movie. Vinnie Jones is fantastic. He's this Cockney man who'll kill you for no reason. What? You just sat down in a chair? I'm going to kill you. What?
You just wash your face, I'm going to kill you. You know what? You just touched the doorknob, twisted it, and opened the door and went through it, I'm going to kill you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take your eyes out. I'm going to stick them in my pockets. I'm going to let you count my change.
19 Online Comedy Fest. I've been rewatching movies. Just rewatched
Moving in
Landsberg, Two
circles.
Smoking Barrels.
You're now looping. You're
I'm
like
looping.
not loopy. You're looping. And that was very funny. And I also heard you do Winston Churchill earlier today, right? And that got us to talking about World War II.
Yeah.
If I ask you a question, will you answer like Winston Churchill?
I'll try.
Okay. The great Winston Churchill joins us. Sir, should we surrender?
No, we should never surrender. We will take our Lysol wipes and we will wipe them on beaches. We shall wipe them on the street and the field. We will wipe them with growing confidence on the sea and in the air. We will wipe them in the supermarkets. We will wipe them in our homes. And we will stay 6 feet away from each other. And we will never, never surrender.
Oh my God. What can I say? That is so funny. By the way, I wanted to ask you, how's your mom doing?
My mom is great. She's so good. She likes to go out and, she's not really supposed to go out, but the way she does it is good. She goes out into the neighborhood swinging from a rope around the trees. And she's dressed as Spider-Man. She's 89, but she's incredibly fit. And she swings up to kids' windowsills, and she's built an egg sack on her back. And she drops millions of Maltesers that look like little spider eggs. And the kids come out and eat the Maltesers. It's so great. She's really lovely.
So she's
really
popular in the area.
Oh, she is, except when she fights. She's an incredible fighter. She's, of course, you love MMA, of course. And she is like a master of the guillotine. She's a master of the arm bar. She would often pin us as children just to show us that she was boss.
You know what I'm thinking, Sean? Is your dad not alive?
No, my dad's not alive anymore, and I do miss him because at this time, he used to while away hours with us doing his erotic dance. He was an incredible erotic dancer, very tasteful, but incredibly erotic. And I cannot tell you how amazing it was. He had a fireman's routine. He had a pirate routine. It was tremendous. And, the kids in the neighborhood would all gather around and just watch him for hours. And eventually he was jailed. But he's now passed away. We miss him quite a bit.
Yeah. I asked you that because my dad is 89. My dad lost his wife of like a million years, and my mom, who we all adored, I guess about a year and a half ago. So my dad's looking for companionship. He loves to wrestle. So I'm thinking it could be a pretty good match.
Well, that's great. As long as my mom got into trouble with what's that Irish guy, the MMA guy, the guy who called you
McGregor.
Yeah, he called you a burn victim.
He did. Can you imagine? Do I look like a burn victim? Like, I'm not saying anything about me, but do I look like I'm burned?
No, you don't look like you look like a burns victim. A burns victim, right? Not a burn victim. It's a burns victim. Anyway, he's so ridiculous. I can't get over it.
He is.
My mother beat him. She's very good on the ground. Took him down and pinned him and held him for a long time. And he loved it, but we'll just leave it at that.
So that everything is. I wrote a little rhyme here. Everything is abbreviations, right? Acronyms. It's there's CBT, ECT. I'm on an SRI. So I thought, can I speak in acronyms? And I just told you that my mom passed away and that she was an amazing mom. So here's what I wrote. Born with GAD, some ADD, touch of OCD. Parents had a PhD in TLC. OMG, mom's RIP.
Oh, gee. Oh, gee, the OG gangster. Very nice.
OMG. Now, that guy that you were imitating, Jones, is he the guy that I would see in a million movies. He's the guy who always plays the tough street Irish Brit.
He is. Vinnie Jones was a soccer player. He played, I think, for Liverpool, but or Manchester United, and he was a tough guy. He was kind of like the Ty Domi of soccer players.
Right.
He was in a remake of The Longest Yard, but a British version about a prison soccer team. He was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He's kind of a celebrity around Britain, not so much here, but I just love him, and Jason Statham, of course, too. Who's
Casey said when she heard that, she goes, "Oh my God, like Jason Statham is next for sure." I'm just Googling him to see his picture, Vinnie Jones. And while I do that, I say to you that we have a COVID-19 isolation package that we are keeping tucked away should we need it. And I've got Lysol wipes, of course. I've got toilet paper. This is the crappy stuff, no pun intended. Casey trains at boxing, so she's got that. Bag of Cheetos were my call, and then Goldfish are my call. Here, whoa, 1 sec. What the hell? There's nothing in here.
Oh.
5 lousy goldfish, that's it? So what do you want to put in the bag?
In the bag, I think I have to take my laptop along. And because I need to keep posting and write, I think I'd take a bottle of Lysol, or actually, what's that, Pine Sol? Because I like the scent of pine. And in a pinch, you can drink it if you're really desperate.
Oh my gosh. That's great. I only gave you one option though, what to put in the bag. I mean, there's
sorry,
put stuff in the bag, but I think I think Vinnie Jones did a public service announcement about 3-step CPR, and he comes in and it's all funny. It's all tongue in cheek. He plays a gangster. Take a look at it. I'll send you the link, and folks should take a look at it because it's so unbelievably clever that they took something, sudden death is not something most people kid about, and they made it amazing. All right. So I have a bunch of fast questions, and you better be quick and give me one word or one line answers. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
What can't you do without during this pandemic?
Books.
What are you watching?
Lost in Space.
For real?
Yeah, I'm watching second season of Lost in Space. I just finished Tiger King, of course, because
oh my God, is that the creepiest bunch of people ever?
Oh my God, the world needs help. But and also Ozark season 3, which is tremendous.
I think they crossed over actually. Some actors who were in the Ozarks actually went and they appeared in not Lion King, Tiger King.
Oh, Tiger King. Lion King would have been great. If the people in Tiger King were in Lion King, that would be unbelievable.
What are you eating too much of?
Chocolate. That's something I never eat before, and now I'm eating it and sitting and watching TV.
How are you getting exercise?
I'm just greasing myself up with olive oil, naked, and then trying to get out of the tub.
A tip on breaking boredom for those of us that are, looking for things to do.
Close your eyes and throw something into a different part of your house and then forget about it and then discover it later. And go, oh my God, I didn't know that was there.
Quarantine hygiene, hair washing. How many times a week?
Twice for me, maybe.
So that's pretty acceptable. What's your go-to quarantine clothing?
I wear Wrangler, forgiving, fit jeans. They're kind of stretchy jeans. I'm enjoying.
Name something you miss.
Oh, hockey. Playing hockey.
Nice. Watching hockey too. I would guess.
All sports. I just love watching sports.
What celebrity would you choose to quarantine with if you had a choice?
Probably. I think maybe Barack Obama. He'd be pretty interesting to sit and hang around with.
I think that's a great choice. You may have to fight me for him. Has your opinion of any political leader changed as a result of the pandemic?
I have to say absolutely. I'm not a I was not a fan of the Ford Nation, and I still am not, probably. But I think that Doug Ford has really risen to the occasion and done a very good job. And I'm surprised and happy for that.
You know, that is a great answer, because I thought, because you asked me that question. I messaged you yesterday and said, give me some good questions to ask people that will, reveal something about them. And I thought the logical place to go with that would have been me saying, yeah, I hate Donald Trump more now than I did before. But, yours is really positive. And I agree. I never liked Ford, but I got to say that he has, as you say, risen to the occasion, and you watch, and he's not leading with his own chin. He's trying to serve others. I think that's great. Thank you so much for doing this, man. This was great fun.
It's a real pleasure, and thank you for being on the radio every day. It really, I wake up and listen to it every day. So say hello to Carlo.
I will, and I'll be in touch soon. People need to know your Twitter handle is at Mr. Sean Cullen, and
Yes.
And your Twitter hashtag, which is can't miss, is COVID-19 Online Comedy Fest. COVID-19 Online Comedy Fest. Check it out.
It's way too long, but I thought more people would be joining in. So I should have just said, hi, I'm on the show. But that's sad.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Take care.
That is Sean Cullen, naturally, well, I say naturally, but that's not giving him enough credit. I was going to say naturally one of the funniest people that you could meet. His Winston Churchill just killed me. We're going to do it every day during the week, and then we'll probably go to 7 days a week when we get it all figured out. And we're going to do this until people say, okay, you know what? You guys can get on with your life. Get out there. We may continue it because I'm finding that people really want to talk about this subject. I mean, it has shocked me to hear, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Tomorrow on the show, two guys who played in the NHL and two guys that have become really famous for what they've done after playing in the NHL. And that is, each of these guys have beat addiction problems. Brant Myers and Brian McGrattan, two guys who have stories to tell, who have been at the very bottom and have worked their way up. We'll find out how they're coping with this. We'll do that tomorrow on this show. And I have to leave you, right? I said I would give you what did I call it, Case? A Isolation Nation inspiration. That was it. Yeah. Okay. Yesterday it was that loneliness is not about the number of people around you, but the number of people that surround you. And today I'm going to go with this. I will fight this enemy to the day of my death, but this enemy will not cause my death. That I'm referring to mental health. I'll fight it to the day of my death, but I won't let it cause my death. Thanks to Jansen for saying to us, hey, here's money. We like what you do whatever you want. And I've chosen to do this. We will see you tomorrow. You got to spread the word, man. You got to spread the word. We need 10 million people watching tomorrow to justify it. Okay, we'll sell it for 25,000. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Casey Landsberg, to Mark Milliere, to Phil Kluba, to Reed, and to anyone else. Did I miss?
Nah, you can get them tomorrow.
Okay, good call. We'll get you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. See that noise?